So, what I want to talk about today, it's definitely a bit more of a personal conversation, more of a personal episode. And it's a theme that I have been personally working with. And if I were to be really honest, I have been struggling with as well. I've been struggling with the shame and the fear of needing time to make decisions. And if you follow me at all on social media, specifically on Instagram, in Instagram stories is where I really do share the behind the scenes kind of day to day, whenever I feel like sharing the day to day process of my own deconditioning. And one of the areas that I am really observing myself as it relates to deconditioning is decision making. And so, for those of you that don't know, I am an emotional authority. So, I have an emotional authority decision making process. And while what I'm going to share with you is specific to my decision making process, to some of the things that have been difficult for me as I've been navigating the deconditioning process, as I've been observing my mind and the chatter of my mind as I'm making all of these shifts and all of these changes in every aspect of my life. So while I'm definitely going to share from that perspective, this conversation I think will be relevant for any authority that isn't able or is not designed to make decisions right in the moment. So when I think about the 7 different authorities, really for me, the only 2 authorities that are designed to make that have an immediacy in terms of their ability to make decisions is the sacral authority and the splenic authority. And the splenic has the quickest decision making process. It's based on intuition, it's based on body awareness, it's based on survival. It makes decisions right in the moment. The sacral, there's a response mechanism associated with the sacral center. However, it's a quick response. If we learn how to decondition and actually tune into our sacral response as a sacral authority, you are designed to make decisions quickly. For me, all of the other authorities take a little more time, with the lunar authority taking the longest time to make decisions or needing the longest time. That's a better way for me to put it. So, this is about if we are to live by design, if we're actually going to live fully by design, and we're going to lean in to how we are designed to make decisions, this is what it actually looks like. So the lunar authority, of course, has the longest, is designed to have the longest decision making process. And then we have the other authorities as well, for which, again, for me, have longer decision making processes. So environmental, of course, their decision making process is a little more similar to the lunar authority. So this would be mental projectors, environmental projectors would have an environmental authority, and then we have the ego authorities and the self-projected authority. That those are found in manifestors and projectors. And those particular authorities still need a little more time to make decisions. And then we have my authority, which is the emotional authority, and we definitely need time to make decisions. So I am talking about any authority that is not sacral or splenic. In my perspective, everybody else, all the other authorities are not designed to make decisions right in the moment. And all other authorities, we require more steps in order to make decisions. Okay. And of course, the conversation is going to be really specific to my own experience as an emotional authority. So here's the thing: our culture, our society, our school system, our, everything that we are exposed to is deeply conditioned, of course, right? Deeply homogenized, deeply conditioned. And so what ends up happening is we have a bunch of people that are designed to take time in order to make decisions that are correct for them, that don't take time in order to make decisions that are correct for them. What ends up happening for so many of us, and myself, I include myself in this. This is probably one of the deepest areas of deconditioning that I am working through. Is we are not meant to make decisions in the moment. So I'm speaking to all authorities that are not designed to make decisions in the moment. And so when we live in a world where we are constantly bombarded with the pressure to make decisions immediately, what ends up happening, speak from my own experience, what ends up happening for me is I end up feeling shame and fear around the fact that I require more time to make decisions if I am going to make decisions according to my design and according to my authority rather than make decisions from my mind. So, in human design, the mind is our not self. The mind is where we know this even from a psychotherapy perspective. The mind is where fear resides. Fear resides in the landscape of our mind. Fear is perpetuated in our mind. Our mind is there to warn us of things. It's there to try to calculate things. It's there to um, try to manipulate outcomes. And it's not that our mind is a bad place, it's not a bad place at all. However, it is important to understand the role of our mind and how our mind influences us and how our mind impacts us. And particularly when it comes to decision making, and this applies for all authorities, including splenic and sacral. When it comes to decision making, we are not designed to make decisions from our mind. Our mind, if we have the Ajna Center defined, it is there to provide us with awareness over our entire lives, but it's not there to help us make those day to day decisions. It's not there to help us make the big decisions. And so, what can often happen, and what is happening with me as I observe my own mind, is that as I decondition and as I really try to slow down my decision making so that I can actually make decisions from my solar plexus and not from my mind, it's as if my mind is throwing a temper tantrum. That's the best way that I can describe it. So, as I'm leaning into my own process of really not moving on a decision, not giving my yes or no, not giving my commitment, not deciding on the direction of a program or a launch or even a dinner, like going out for dinner. As I feel myself holding back so that my solar plexus can gather all the data that it needs to gather in order to make a decision, what I feel coming up for me is my mind's nattering. My mind will natter at me and say, Shamla, you're crazy. You can't take this long. This is not how people run a business. This is not how you grow. This is not like you're going to miss out on all of these opportunities. So, what I'm noticing come up for me as two very strong emotions that are created through my not self mind and the chattering of my not self mind are fear and shame. Fear and shame. So, let me talk about fear first, because I think this is probably the most obvious one. So, what happens for me? Well, what is happening for me in real time? I mean, I'm a line six. And so the sixth line energy is all about teaching through embodiment. There is no teaching for me if it's not embodied. And so I'm really leaning into that energy. And so this process is happening for me in real time. Even as I'm recording this episode, even as I'm having this conversation with you, I can I am observing my not self mind, even right now. So this is happening in real time for me. So you guys are truly getting a behind the scenes look at a 45-year-old woman who has been in her professional career for 20 years, done all sorts of different things in those 20 years, but I've operated in a certain way. I mean, I've operated in a certain way for almost 45 years, and professionally, definitely for 20 years in a particular way, in a very conditioned way, in a way that actually is probably more designed for sacral types, sacral beings. And I've decided to do it all differently. And as I'm deciding to do it all differently, there are many moments where that feels really good inside my body and that feels like the right decision. And it makes my heart sing to think about doing it differently and to do it according to design. And then I have many, 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 many moments where I'm scared shitless and a lot of shame comes up for me in this process a lot. Those 2 emotions, and I can feel them welling up right now as I'm talking about it. Those 2 emotions, fear and shame, come up for me daily. Every single day, they come up for me through this process. And it's important for me to share that with you. One of the women inside one of my programs, um, said to me recently, she said, "Oh, it's so amazing how you do these things and you don't feel afraid." And that's just not true. It's not true. I know it can appear that way. I know it can appear like I am not afraid to make all of these changes. I know it can appear like I just have it all together. I'm going so deep with human design. I'm learning how to integrate my design. I'm living my I know it can look like all of that on the outside. And there are many moments. Hold on, let me take a sip of something. There are many moments where it feels good and I'm excited, but I want you to know there are many, many, many more moments where I am filled with nuances of fear and shame. And for me, those nuances, those shades of fear and shame look like self doubt, second guessing. I've told myself that I am crazy more times during this process than I think ever before. Because the process of deconditioning, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's insane. The process of deconditioning is, I believe, for me anyway, the hardest self-development and transformative process that I've ever experienced. And I say that because I have decided, I need to say this caveat, I've decided to go all the way with it. I've decided to go all in. I'm a little bit all or nothing when I find something that is meaningful to me. Um, and human design has been so transformative for me and so meaningful for me that I am compelled to go all in with it. And when I go all in with something, I go all in with my feelings. I'm an emotional authority. I have lots and lots of sometimes conflicting feelings about the process. And the piece of my process that I'm working very intentionally on deconditioning is decision making. I mean, here's the thing, if you listen to my last podcast episode, I talked about decision making. I'm probably going to keep talking about decision making for some time because for me, I mean, correct decision making is what puts us on the correct geometry or path for our life. And at this stage of my life, as a sixth line who is on the roof, about to come off the roof, and I know my design, my path is to come off the roof as that embodied leader. There's no choice for me. There's no choice for me. There's no option other than really ensuring that I am making decisions that are correct for me so that I am on the correct geometry for me, for my life, for my design, for my purpose. And so this is why I feel so deeply passionate about decision making. Of course, it is one of the foundations of human design. I mean, don't go any further with human design until you really understand what it means to embody your strategy and your authority. There's no point. I mean, there's just no point. And so, as it relates to decision making, I feel like I'm a little bit all over the place in this episode, but that's what happens when I allow myself to really tap into my emotional authority and allow my emotions to guide me. Um so yeah, I hope that you're keeping up with me here. Um so this commitment that I've made to myself to really lean into my authority, allow my solar plexus to guide my life, to guide my decisions, to gather all the data. Because here's the thing about the solar plexus is it gathers more data than any other center, any other energy center. The solar plexus. So if you're an emotional authority, you have a defined solar plexus where 50% of the population, this energy center gathers more data than any other energy center. I'm constantly absorbing frequency. I'm constantly absorbing data through my solar plexus. And so, what I've done in the past is I've rushed decisions because, oh my goodness, I need to launch another program, or oh my goodness, I need to make a decision about branding, or oh my goodness, I need to release another podcast. And so, what I've really been working through is making significant changes in my life, particularly in my business, because I think what I've noticed anyway, the area where people really struggle to lean into their authority is as it relates to their professional life, their business. That's the area. I think that's the area where we are most conditioned. I think that's the area where we feel the most pressure. It's true for me. That's the area where I feel the most pressure, and it's the area where my deepest conditioning is. So as I begin to restructure all sorts of things inside of my business, it's meant that I need to slow down. I need to take more time to make decisions. I can't say yes immediately. I kn- I've decided I will not launch a program until my authority says it's time to launch. And this is the program, this is the name, this is the thing. So if you've been following me, I was supposed to launch something, I don't know, 2, 3 weeks ago. I was about to pull the plug on it, thought I would launch it this month. I'm still not getting the okay from my authority. The program is ready to go. The content's there, the workbooks are there. Like I'm ready to deliver this beautiful program. And it's not time. My authority has not given me the go ahead to actually launch this program. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. And so this means that I am not quote unquote currently selling in my business, which is, if you're an online business owner, this is like an atrocity. How could you, not be selling when you have a product or service ready to go? But I'm not. Um, and especially as a projector, I am really leaning into waiting for the invitation, trusting that as I continue to make decisions that are correct for me, that I will be on the correct trajectory. I will be on the correct geometry and path for my life, and that the correct people, the correct invitations will come in. So, as I've been doing all of this, the fears have come up. The fears that my business won't grow, that I will become less relevant in the online space, that I'm not producing enough content. As you guys know, I no longer post content to social media unless I am deeply integrating something and I want to share it with you. There will be no more fluff on my social media. I'm not going to post something just for the sake of posting it. Even the podcast. I made the decision to release 2 episodes a month so that there's lots of spaciousness for me to record when I actually feel moved by my solar plexus and I actually have something to share with you. That was a big shift. And the truth is, if within that 2-week span, there's nothing I'm ready to share with you, I would skip that. I would just literally skip that week and not record an episode. And so these are radical transformations. These are radical shifts to be making. And so there's a lot of fear of missing out, fear of being behind, fear of not achieving success, which is a big thing as a projector. And then there's the shame. Then there's the shame that I feel, and I've actually processed this with some of my team members. I feel shame coming up inside of me when I've said I'm going to do I'm gonna launch like, when I said I was gonna launch this program last month, and then I just made, like, several decisions that shifted that launch, I noticed shame coming up for me every time I went to have a conversation with my team to let them know that I thought I had clarity and I don't have clarity. That I thought my solar plexus was done processing and it's not done processing. And that's the thing with the solar plexus, that's the thing with environmental authority, that's the thing with lunar authority is we keep gathering data over time. And so we can feel like it's a yes one day and then it feels like a not yet the next day. And so really leaning into that and trusting that and then externalizing that and vocalizing that to my team, even though my team is amazing, like amazing. They trust me. They adore me. I adore them. I mean, there's nothing that they are saying or doing that would invite shame. This is my stuff. This is my conditioning around what it means to be a business owner, what it means to be a leader, what it means to all the things, all the things. And so this shame comes up around my decision making process that I can't say yes immediately. I'm not designed to say yes immediately. I'm not designed to know immediately. And that doesn't make me stupid. And that doesn't make me incompetent. And that doesn't mean I don't know what I'm doing. It doesn't mean any of those things. What it does mean is for me, I'm just no longer willing to do it the way I've done it. I'm no longer willing to compromise myself in order to make sales, in order to quote unquote scale. I hate that word. That word doesn't fit for me. I'm no longer willing to compromise myself in order to achieve success as it has been defined for me by society. I think that's all I have. I can feel myself sort of coming to the end of what I'm ready to externalize, the end of what I'm ready to share with you. If you have what I'm calling a process authority, this simply means that you're not splenic or sacral in your authority. You need time. You just need time. You need a little extra process. You need your by design, you are designed to gather more data, externalize data maybe. Like there's varieties with authority. If this resonates for you, if this is pulling up questions for you, if you felt some of this fear, if you felt some of this shame that I'm talking about, love for you to reach out and let me know. If you desire to walk with me, if you desire to work with me, right now, there are a couple of amazing ways to do that. You can do that in a small private package which with me, which is called Discover Your HD. That's one way to work with me. It's 3 sessions together privately where I walk you through your type, strategy, and authority. The other way is to join me inside of my 1-year program called the Power Portal. It is a mastermind where we combine it's my 20 years of experience in mental health and as a relationship therapist and in human design now. We've brought human design into that program. So that is an amazing way to work with me, walk with me long term. And if you simply want to reach out and connect with me, send me a message, send me a DM. I love connecting with my community. I have very strong tribal circuitry and collective circuitry in my chart. And so I do this work. I have these conversations to share what I'm learning, what I'm processing, and to support you. That's really, truly what I'm here for. That's what I'm designed to do. So please don't hesitate, reach out, connect with me, and I will see you again in the next episode.